Emily sat in her small, cluttered apartment, staring out of the smudged window at the city skyline. The urban sprawl seemed alive with energy, yet in that moment it felt devoid of meaning to her. Another day had passed, and she found herself trapped in a cycle of monotony, commuting to a job she didn't love, returning to an empty home, and scrolling through social media feeds filled with snapshots from friends living their best lives. Each view deepened her sense of isolation. At 26, Emily envisioned herself in a different life. She had dreams that flickered in the corners of her mind, an adventurous freelance writer, perhaps a world traveler capturing experiences through her evocative prose. But instead, she was tethered to an advertising firm where she was just another cog in the corporate machine. The vibrant stories she once told herself had faded into a dim background noise overshadowed by deadlines and office politics. She was well aware of the whispers of her colleagues, their laughter ringed with the comfort of shared misery. Just stick it out for a few more years. Things will get better. But better? What did that even mean? Each time Emily contemplated her future, a familiar weight settled in her chest, an unsettling mix of yearning and resignation. She longed for something beyond her predictable existence but lacked the courage to take the leap. The weekends offered only temporary relief. She would often wander through town, visiting coffee shops where the sound of clinking cups blended with soft music and lively chatter. It was soothing to disappear into a comfortable routine even if it only magnified her loneliness. After all, sitting among people while feeling profoundly alone is an odd discomfort. One rainy Tuesday evening, after another long day spent pitching ideas to disinterested clients, Emily sought solace in an old bookstore that had become her sanctuary. It was musty yet inviting, its shelves piled high with forgotten stories waiting to breathe again. She wandered through aisles filled with novels whose spines whispered promises of adventure and romance, the very narratives that had once inspired her. As raindrops tapped against the window like fingers drumming on a table, Emily lost track of time, thumbing through pages of travelogues and tales of explorers who defied boundaries. The world outside seemed to blur as she immersed herself in prose that spoke of possibilities. Yet soon enough, reality crept back in. As the last light faded from the sky, so too did her hope for change. With a heavy heart and an armful of books, she made her way toward the exit. Just as she stepped out onto the slick pavement, fate intervened. An unexpected figure appeared at the entrance, a stranger clad in an oversized trench coat with vibrant patches decorating it like a collage of art. Their hair was wild and untamed under a wide-brimmed hat that shielded most of their face from view. Lost in thought, they asked, their voice carrying an unusual lilt that seemed both playful and mysterious. Emily hesitated for a moment before nodding slowly. There was something captivating about this stranger's energy, something that felt strangely freeing compared to her usual world weighed down by obligations. I get it, they continued, sensing Emily's unease. Sometimes life feels like it's stuck on repeat. I see you're searching for something more. Her heart raced slightly. It was as if this person could see past her carefully crafted facade straight into her soul. Inexplicably drawn to this curious encounter, she replied quietly, I just wish things were different. A knowing smile spread across the stranger's lips. Well then, they said softly but firmly, what if I told you I could grant you a wish? A chance to change your life for the better. Emily's breath caught in her throat. A wish? It sounded too good to be true, almost like something out of one of those novels lining the bookstore's shelves. Yet, part of her couldn't help but feel intrigued. What had she to lose? Maybe this was just the spark she needed to ignite change in her life. As her pulse quickened with excitement and trepidation, the stranger leaned closer, their eyes glinting with mischief as they added ominously, but remember, there's always a catch. As Emily stepped out of the bookstore, the cool evening air wrapped around her like an embrace, briefly lifting the weight of her day. The raindrops had subsided to a gentle mist, and a hazy glow illuminated the street lamps lining the sidewalk. It felt as if the world had been washed anew, yet her heart remained heavy with uncertainty. She turned toward the bustling city streets, her shoes splashing in puddles as she walked. The familiar sights and sounds of urban life enveloped her, a cacophony of laughter from nearby cafes, the distant honking of taxis, and the rhythmic thrum of music pouring from open doorways. But this night felt different, an electric energy pulsed through the air, hinting at imminent change. As she wandered deeper into the city, she found herself drawn to a small, secluded park that she rarely visited. It was tucked away between two towering buildings, almost like a hidden gem amidst the concrete jungle. The usually vibrant greenery appeared muted under a shroud of shadows, yet somehow welcoming. The scent of damp earth and blooming flowers mingled, creating an intoxicating atmosphere that momentarily distracted her from her troubles. Emily took a seat on an old wooden bench covered in peeling paint and let out a sigh. The chirping of crickets filled the air, and for a fleeting moment it felt as if time had slowed down. She closed her eyes and allowed herself to imagine what life could be, free from drudgery, full of adventure, perhaps even writing stories that would inspire others just as those dusty volumes in the bookstore had inspired her. Just then she heard footsteps approaching, breaking her reverie. Curiosity piqued, she opened her eyes to see a figure emerging from the dim light, a stranger clad in vibrant patchwork clothing that seemed to dance with individuality against the muted backdrop of night. Their hair cascaded wildly beneath a broad-brimmed hat, nearly hiding their face but not completely obscuring their enigmatic smile. "Hello there," they said with an inviting tone that carried both warmth and mischief. "You found our little secret hideaway." Emily blinked in surprise. "I didn't know this place was here," she admitted, bemused by their casual familiarity with an area that felt removed from her everyday life. "Well," they replied playfully as they approached closer to where she sat, "sometimes you need to look beyond what's obvious to find something special." They gestured expansively around them as if unveiling a treasure chest hidden within the depths of ordinary life. "What brings you out here tonight?" they prompted gently. The stranger's intense gaze locked onto hers with an unexpected intensity that made her heart race. "I guess I'm just searching for something," Emily began hesitantly before trailing off into silence, unsure how much to reveal. "Something more," they finished for her knowingly. "I can sense it, the longing deep within you." Their voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper that sent shivers down Emily's spine. "How do you know?" she asked incredulously. It felt intrusive yet oddly comforting all at once. "It's written all over you," they replied confidently. "You're at a crossroads in your life when you desire change but fear its implications." Emily couldn't shake off their penetrating gaze nor dismiss how it made her feel seen in ways she hadn't experienced before. "And what if I told you I could grant you a wish? A chance to grasp hold of everything your heart truly desires?" Her breath caught again. Was this real? The notion felt absurd yet tantalizingly compelling. What would it mean to have a wish granted? Excitement bubbled within her alongside trepidation at such an offer coming from this whimsical figure. "But remember," they continued softly, leaning closer so that their voice was barely above a whisper, "there's always a catch." The phrase echoed ominously in Emily's mind as she tried to process what lay ahead. Was this encounter simply serendipity or something far more profound? In that strange moment beneath the twilight sky flanked by towering buildings and flickering stars, she grappled with possibilities that seemed both thrilling and terrifying. A decision loomed over her like storm clouds gathering in the distance. Emily's heart raced as the stranger's mesmerizing offer hung in the air between them. One wish, a simple phrase that felt simultaneously tantalizing and daunting. She searched the stranger's eyes for any hint of deceit but found only an enigmatic glimmer, like stars twinkling on a clear night. What possibility lay behind such a promise? "Anything?" she murmured, still grappling with the weight of her own disbelief. "I can wish for anything I want?" "Indeed," the stranger replied, their voice steady and enticing. "But you must choose wisely. This is not an opportunity to be taken lightly." There was an intensity in their gaze that made her feel as though they were peering right into her consciousness. Emily's mind swirled with possibilities, adventure, success, love, all the things she craved in her stagnant existence. Just that morning, she'd sat at her desk daydreaming about breaking free from her corporate chains and penning stories that would captivate readers around the world. An image of herself standing atop a mountain range flashed by, arms outstretched as she breathed in crisp, fresh air, far away from spreadsheets and client meetings. "I could wish to be a published author," she said slowly, testing the words on her tongue. "Or maybe to travel anywhere I want without worrying about money." A faint smile played on the stranger's lips, encouraging her to elaborate further. "Those are admirable wishes indeed. But tell me, what underlies your desire for those particular changes? What do you seek behind them?" Emily paused, suddenly aware of how delicate this moment was. This was not merely about wishing away her problems, it was about acknowledging them. I guess I want to feel fulfilled," she admitted, biting her lip nervously. "I want to feel alive." The stranger nodded thoughtfully, as if weighing the significance of her words. To feel alive is a worthy aspiration. It resonates with many souls caught in the rush of life. They leaned closer, nearly conspiratorial in their demeanor. But be advised, every wish has its intricacies and complexities. Emily's excitement began to morph into skepticism as she contemplated their warning. Why would an offer like this come with complications? Wasn't life complicated enough already? "What does that mean?" she asked, brow furrowing with concern. "What kind of intricacies?" "There will always be consequences," they replied cryptically. "A change in one aspect may shift another, like ripples spreading across a pond." Their expression was serious now, grounding Emily in reality even as dreams danced at the corners of her vision. She bit back a laugh tinged with disbelief, trying to comprehend what they meant by such heavy reminders while talking about wishes. So, if I wished to be a successful writer or traveler, Emily ventured cautiously, would there be something I'd have to sacrifice? It's not so much about sacrifice, but rather understanding that every action leads to reaction. What you gain may lead to loss elsewhere, they conveyed softly but firmly. Unease gnawed at Emily's heart. All those stories she adored had never prepared her for such contemplations on the darker side of fantasies coming true. She wanted magic but didn't want to be caught unawares by unforeseen repercussions lurking just beyond the veil. Will it change my life for better or worse? She voiced hesitantly. That is for you to determine, came the reply, highlighting Emily's role in directing the course of this mystical journey. Exhaling deeply, Emily felt both empowered and frightened by her autonomy over this momentous decision. Not only could she make a wish, she'd also bear its outcomes. The gravity began settling in, each possibility unfurled within her mind like branches from an intricate tree. What if I wished for something simpler? Something that wouldn't disrupt my life too much, she offered faintly. A wish cannot be constrained by simplicity nor complexity, it emerges from your heart's deepest longing, they asserted gently but firmly. As curiosity warred with caution within her soul, part of Emily began yearning for excitement again, the thrill of venturing into uncharted territory versus clinging tightly to safety nets made of doubt and routine. With resolve gathering within her chest like flame igniting kindling, Emily leaned forward slightly and finally dared to speak. Okay then, let's put my heart out there for redemption. Make your wish, they encouraged quietly, their expression unreadable yet expectant. In that charged silence beneath dimming skies, between flickers of apprehension and sparks of hope, she prepared herself to untangle everything she wanted from life itself into a single articulate phrase. Whatever awaited after that leap felt momentous and infinitely possible. The weight of the moment pressed down on Emily as she struggled to formulate her wish, her heart racing both with anticipation and dread. She could feel the stranger's gaze fixed on her, their enigmatic expression a blend of patience and an unspoken challenge. It was as if they were waiting for her to take the plunge into this mysterious abyss, yet a lingering anxiety wound through her thoughts. Just remember, the stranger said softly, breaking the silence, every wish comes with its own set of unforeseen consequences. Emily blinked, uncertainty flooding her mind. What do you mean? She asked cautiously, curiosity battling with fear. What kind of consequences? The stranger leaned back slightly, folding their arms as if preparing to impart wisdom from a nook of experience. Each wish you make creates ripples that spread out in ways you cannot fully foresee. Your desire may fulfill one aspect of your life but may simultaneously bring complications or pains in others. They spoke with a profound seriousness that captivated Emily's attention. Why would it do that? She stammered, the reality of the situation dawning on her. She had envisioned herself wading through vibrant new experiences, leaving behind her mundane life. Now she feared that those vibrant possibilities came tethered to shadows. Imagine a simple wish like wanting to be published, the stranger suggested. You may gain fame and readers adoring your work but lose personal connections along the way, friends who feel abandoned by your newfound success or critics who tear apart what you've worked tirelessly to create. Their voice was steady yet laced with compassion. Emily considered this carefully. The thought of being judged and critiqued sent shivers down her spine. Many evenings were spent poring over pages filled with words meant solely for herself, shielded from scrutiny. And yet, what was the point of staying hidden forever? But could she sacrifice relationships for acclaim? What about travel? Emily ventured hesitantly. If I wished to explore the world without worries about money, the excitement in her voice gradually faded as she processed their implications. A thrilling thought, they interjected, nodding. But think further, freedom gained might bring discontent when you build new ties in distant lands only for them to vanish when you return home. Or perhaps there are loved ones left behind who miss your presence deeply. Even joy can unravel into longing. She felt a tugging sensation at the back of her heart, a mixture of fear and understanding dawning upon her like twilight after a long day. Each desire could usher in an array of shadows lurking alongside sunshine. One decision could alter not only her life but also those intertwined with hers. What if I just wished for something small? Emily suggested tentatively, seeking refuge under simplicity's veil. Maybe just happiness or contentment. The stranger shook their head gently but firmly. Happiness cannot be granted through wishes, it must be pursued through choices, companionships crafted through shared moments, hardships endured together, passions diligently chased. Their eyes held depth, inviting Emily into a vortex of deeper contemplation. But isn't that what I am doing? She countered weakly. Isn't that why I'm standing here? Yes, they affirmed softly, but wishing sidesteps engagement. It removes accountability for change from your hands. Pausing briefly to let these ideas settle within her mind like seeds planted in fertile soil, they added gravely, many have made instantaneous wishes only to find themselves in tangled webs later, a bittersweet lesson learned too late. In that moment beneath swaying trees cloaked in shadows modulated by flickers of streetlights above them, Emily realized how intertwined fate was with free will. The weighty sincerity of every choice hung over them like uncharted territories on a map yet unseen. Could she dare step forward into those uncertainties while grasping tightly onto personal responsibility? A mix of exhilaration and trepidation churned within Emily as she grappled silently with the tempting call of promise hovering nearby while navigating potential pitfalls ahead. What if I just didn't make a wish at all? She pondered aloud, a thought tugging at her more than anything else. Then nothing will change, replied the stranger softly but firmly, watching her closely yet without judgment as if all paths lay laid bare before them. One paved brightly and invitingly ahead while dangerously obscured offside hidden behind thorns waiting patiently to ensnare careless dreamers. Gathering courage amidst such revelations ignited flame inside, a realization like dawn breaking across a landscape long veiled by storm clouds began illuminating paths anew. Should she dare commit to discovering true fulfillment beyond mere vestiges teased by fleeting wishes? The path lay stretched before her. A defining moment where fragments concerning self emerged boldly demanding acknowledgement if not invitation forward toward redemption still waiting patiently therein promising unfathomable outcomes stark beautiful against dark background beneath cobalt skies, vast and untouched. Emily stood at the precipice of a decision, her mind swirling with conflicting thoughts and emotions. The stranger's words echoed in her ears, reminding her that each wish bore with it uncharted consequences. She felt as if she were caught in a tempest where every wave of desire collided violently with the rocks of fear and uncertainty. She could envision herself as a successful author basking in the glow of accolades and admiration. The thought sent a rush of warmth through her veins, igniting a spark of hope she had long thought extinguished. Yet, with that vision came the chilling reminder of loneliness. What if the fame drove away her friends? What if the very act of sharing her stories alienated those who once cherished her for who she was? Her heart raced as she recalled the laughter of her friends during college days, the shared dreams and wild plans. Would they understand if she suddenly transformed into someone different? Someone whose life revolved around book signings and literary events rather than coffee dates and spontaneous road trips? The prospect filled her with dread and she shivered against the cool evening air. Then there was the idea of travel, of roaming distant lands, tasting exotic foods, and experiencing cultures that thrummed with life. The lure of adventure beckoned to her like an unquenchable flame. However, as quickly as that thought bloomed, doubts crept in. She imagined herself in foreign cities, surrounded by strangers but missing the familiarity of home. What about her family? Her parents would worry, they always did. And what if she fell in love with a place or a person only to be forced to leave it behind when reality called her back home? Emily's mind spiraled further down this path of anxiety, weighing each potential wish against the backdrop of her everyday life, the mundane routine that had become so suffocating. Wasn't it better to yearn for something more than to cling to complacency? Yet, how much was she willing to risk for a chance at fulfillment? She felt like a tightrope walker suspended high above an abyss, teetering on the edge between desire and fear. As she took a deep breath, trying to ground herself in the moment, Emily realized that part of her craved change simply to escape her current reality. She had grown weary of feeling invisible in a world that spun on without her. But could she truly expect happiness to be handed to her on a silver platter? Could one wish really alter everything? What if I wished for something small, she whispered to herself, grappling with the notion that perhaps simplicity could bring peace without upheaval. What if I just wished for contentment? But even as those words formed in her mind, she felt their weightlessness. Contentment was not something that could be granted. It required nurturing, cultivating relationships, appreciating moments, embracing imperfections. Emily understood this truth deep within herself, yet here she stood before an opportunity that promised everything she had ever wanted. Am I ready to take this leap? She pondered aloud, glancing at the stranger who watched her intently. Their presence was both comforting and unsettling, a reminder that magic existed alongside reality but often came with strings attached. The internal conflict coiled tightly within her, each possible outcome unfurling like petals from a flower blooming under sunlight yet shadowed by the threat of storms ahead. Every time she thought about what might come from making a wish, both positive and negative, the stakes grew higher. What do I truly want? Emily asked herself again, wrestling with the question like a wrestler fighting against an opponent in the ring. Could it be fulfillment through writing? Or perhaps liberation through travel? Would either of these paths lead her closer to true happiness or pull her further into isolation? As she stood at this crossroads illuminated by streetlights flickering like stars above them, Emily felt an urgency building within her, a need not only to make sense of what lay ahead but also to embrace whatever awaited beyond this moment. Ultimately, it was not just about choosing whether or not to make a wish, it was about understanding herself, the intricate tapestry woven from hopes and fears that defined who she was becoming. The decision loomed larger than life itself. Would she dare embrace possibility while accepting responsibility for whatever consequences followed in its wake? With each heartbeat echoing louder than the last, a rhythm sinking with courage stirring inside, Emily steeled herself for what lay ahead. Whether it would be triumph or despair remained unknown but promised profound transformation nonetheless. The cool evening air danced around Emily as she stood under the wavering glow of the streetlights, the moment heavy with unfulfilled potential. She could feel the weight of her thoughts coalescing into a palpable force, the urgency for change clawing at her gut as she faced the enigmatic stranger who waited patiently for her decision. The wide expanse of possibility stretched out before her like an open road, and with every heartbeat, her imagination painted vivid images of a life bursting with adventure and creativity. Emily envisioned herself breaking free from the constraints of her office job, standing on book signing stages surrounded by eager readers, or wandering through sun-drenched streets in foreign cities where the very air felt laden with new experiences just waiting to be captured in prose. Each dream shimmered brightly yet felt precariously balanced on the edge of reality. But that brightness was soon laced with shadows, the weight of consequences hinged upon almost ethereal threads. As she contemplated what lay beneath those surface desires, anxieties cascaded through her mind like a storm. Would adoration from strangers come at the cost of lost friendships? Would the thrill of travel leave her feeling isolated amidst vibrant cultures? Wasn't there beauty in her current life that she would risk losing? Fingers trembling slightly, she looked at the stranger, gauging their expression for any sign of deception. The look on their face remained steady. They seemed aware that this moment mattered deeply to Emily. "You don't have to rush," they said softly, their voice like velvet in the cool night air. "But every moment you delay could slip away into eternity." Time seemed to stretch around her as uncertainty twisted within. Abruptly, memories floated back, fragments of laughter shared over coffee with friends and vibrant sunsets spent contemplating life and love. Slivers of doubt swirled alongside ideal visions. Could she truly trade those lasting connections for fleeting success? But then another thought emerged. How long could she continue this mundane existence? Each day blurring into the next, a cycle that felt increasingly suffocating. A voice deep within her cried out against stagnation. There had to be more. That truth merged seamlessly with her longing for change as wildflowers entwined in a backyard fence grow vibrant despite constraints. Taking a deep breath, growing bolder beneath twilight skies bespeckled with stars, Emily held fast to a yearning, one that urged her not merely to pursue dreams but to live audaciously. What was it that truly ignited her spirit? "I want to be free," she finally declared, tucking strands of hair behind her ear as clarity bloomed within her heart. "I wish to embrace my passion fully, to write without restraint, to experience life beyond my desk, to feel truly alive." The words rushed out like a floodgate opened wide after years of self-imposed limitations. Saying them aloud felt like stepping across an invisible threshold from hesitation into boldness, a sensation electrifying in its power. A smile played across the stranger's lips, one that resembled both satisfaction and intrigue. "And so it shall be," they replied affirmatively, gesturing emphatically as if enacting an ancient pact woven into time itself. Yet behind them lingered a shadow, a reminder that such freedom came mingled with sensitivities and sacrifices she still had yet to fathom completely, a complex dance between aspiration and consequence enveloping each newfound horizon. "Remember," they cautioned gently as Emily allowed herself to revel in the surge of empowerment coursing through her veins, "what you choose will shape not only your journey but ripple outwards toward others entwined in your story." Her heart raced at potential futures now lying ahead, the unknown thrilling yet daunting, manifesting wisdom over reckless abandon. Those words sparked something inside Emily. It dawned anew on what being truly free meant. It demanded intention behind passion's pursuit, tangible effort fueling creations carried forward. Even so, liberation surged forward. Emily leaned into it like waves moving inevitably toward shore regardless of storms swirling above. It became apparent she was ready or not. This path before held traces of uncertainty but promised vital transformation nonetheless. With resolve filling every portion of her being like fire igniting tender kindling within dry wood, she opened herself fully to all that awaited. Her perception expanded and sharpened. The moment arrived just before change heralded its arrival unannounced. Somewhere blossomed intricate beauty waiting patiently at being birthed brightly under open skies right before dawn. As the words of her wish hung in the air, a shimmering energy enveloped Emily, swirling around her like a gentle breeze. The moment felt electric, as though time itself had paused to acknowledge her declaration. She could hardly contain the exhilaration bubbling within her. This was the beginning of everything she had ever dreamed of. The next morning, Emily awoke to a world that felt transformed. The sun streamed through her window with an intensity that seemed to illuminate every corner of her room, casting away shadows of self-doubt and monotony. She sprang out of bed, her heart racing with anticipation. Today would be different. Today she would embrace life fully. As she sipped her coffee, savoring the rich aroma, ideas for stories poured into her mind like an overflowing fountain. Characters danced across her thoughts, and vivid plots unfolded effortlessly. With renewed energy coursing through her veins, she opened her laptop and began typing furiously, words spilling onto the page as if they were waiting for this very moment to be set free. But as the hours flowed by and the pages piled up, she started to notice something unsettling in her newfound creativity. The stories that came so easily were filled with emotions that felt raw and unfamiliar, an intensity that stirred something deep within her. The characters she created often reflected aspects of herself. Their struggles mirrored her own insecurities and fears. While exhilarating, this revelation also unsettled her. Writing was meant to be an escape from reality, not a confrontation with it. Later that day, when Emily ventured outside to clear her head, she was greeted by a vibrant world bursting with life. Children laughed and played in the park while couples strolled hand in hand beneath blooming cherry blossoms. Yet amidst this beauty, Emily felt a creeping sense of isolation. As friends texted and called with invitations for casual meetups or movie nights, she hesitated to respond. How could she explain the whirlwind of emotions swirling within? They wouldn't understand why she was suddenly consumed by writing rather than sharing moments with them. When she finally mustered the courage to join one of those gatherings, the disconnect became palpable. Friends chatted animatedly about their lives, job promotions, and weekend plans, but Emily struggled to engage in small talk while grappling with deeper existential questions ignited by her wish. Instead of feeling uplifted by camaraderie, she found herself retreating inward as if caught between two worlds, one filled with laughter and lightness and another steeped in introspection and uncertainty. That night, after returning home feeling more alone than ever despite being surrounded by friends, Emily sat back at her desk. Doubts crept in like shadows at dusk. Was this what freedom truly felt like? The pressure to produce meaningful work loomed heavily over her shoulders like an unwelcome weight. Each keystroke felt loaded with expectation. Creativity turned into obligation rather than joy. The stranger's warning echoed in her mind. Every wish carries consequences. Emily realized that while pursuing her passion led to artistic growth and new experiences, it also brought unexpected loneliness and heightened awareness of both herself and those around her, a dual-edged sword cutting both ways. As days turned into weeks, Emily found herself constantly juggling between exhilarating bursts of creativity and bouts of crippling anxiety about what lay ahead. Every triumph on the page sparkled bright but shadowed over by fears about losing connections with family and friends who once filled her life with warmth. In quiet moments alone at night, doubts whispered insidiously, was it worth it? Had she sacrificed too much in pursuit of a dream? And yet beneath all these uncertainties lay an undeniable truth. The thrill of creating had awakened something inside that refused to be silenced. Emily resolved then not to shy away from these growing pains but instead embrace them as necessary parts of transformation, a complex dance between aspiration and reality where light met dark along uncharted paths ahead. She recognized that change would demand courage. Friends might drift away or grow distant as they pursued their own journeys too, but perhaps new connections awaited just beyond familiar shores where dreams began unfurling into tangible realities. With renewed determination sparking within her heart like kindling awaiting ignition once more, Emily prepared herself for whatever came next. Knowing it would be a journey filled not only with excitement but also challenges that could redefine not just who she was becoming but how deeply she understood life itself. As days turned into weeks, Emily found herself both exhilarated and encumbered by her newfound creative freedom. Her writing flourished, but with each story she crafted, complications began to rise and intertwine with her daily life, creating an intricate tapestry of both triumph and turmoil. At first, the intense rush of productivity seemed intoxicating. Emily churned out pages of vivid prose, entering competitions and posting excerpts online to enthusiastic responses from readers eager for more. The thrill of receiving positive feedback was addictive. It fueled her determination and reassured her that she was on the right path. However, the more she wrote, the more she realized that her work demanded not just creativity but a deeper vulnerability. The characters she conjured reflected her own fears and insecurities, pulling at emotional threads she often preferred to keep hidden. One evening, after pouring her soul into a particularly challenging chapter about loss and identity, Emily received a message from Megan, her closest friend since college. "Hey, there's a get-together this weekend. We miss you. Please come." It was an innocuous request, filled with warmth and understanding, yet a wave of anxiety washed over Emily. She hesitated before responding. A part of her wanted to join them, to feel connected to the people who had been her lifeline amidst everyday pressures. Yet another part screamed that she was no longer the same person. The forceful current of her writing drew her further away from those cherished moments. Emily's fingers hovered over the keyboard as she typed and deleted replies multiple times, struggling to articulate her thoughts. Finally, she settled on a half-hearted maybe, knowing it would only further distance her from making a commitment. Disappointment shadowed her response like a thick fog. Hadn't she wished for more connection in life? Yet the drive to create consumed her even more fiercely. The following day, at a small cafe where she used to meet friends regularly for coffee and laughter, Emily immersed herself in writing plans for an upcoming novel about self-discovery. As she sat there surrounded by familiar chatter, cups clinking and laughter ringing in the air, an ache blossomed in her chest. The contrast was jarring. Love-filled conversations swirled around her while an emotional heaviness sank deeper within. On impulse, Emily texted Megan, "Sorry, I can't come tonight." She felt a pang of guilt wash over her when Megan promptly replied with a simple thumbs-up emoji. It stung. There went another opportunity to reconnect amid changing tides sweeping her toward unknown shores. As weeks rolled by, the turning point came with the arrival of an unexpected email from a prestigious literary magazine, a positive response to one of Emily's submissions. They wanted to feature one of her stories. Elation swept through her. It felt like crossing a threshold into validation and success. But soon enough, excitement yielded way to trepidation. What would this mean for her? Would this increase expectations not only from others but from herself? The momentous occasion quickly spiraled into pressure. She spent sleepless nights fretting over editing details while losing touch with reality around her, never once stepping outside to bask in sunlight or accept invitations despite emerging anxiety clashes with celebration hereabouts. Then came another unwelcome development. Emily stumbled across posts on social media showcasing how well others in her circle were thriving. Friends finding jobs they loved and sharing joyful moments at events without her presence, forming memories together again. A stark bitterness rose within. Comparisons gnawed at the edges of her mind. While she reveled through art flourishing inside these pages, the isolation felt all-consuming. With each positive outcome came escalating problems that began to overshadow any initial triumphs. As success stroked against lines crafted through sincerity, birthed alongside shadows eroded connections painstakingly woven previously, the disconnect widened like cracks forming in a once solid foundation beneath strain, unacknowledged goodwill falling between them. One evening, as rain drummed softly against the window panes, an often charming backdrop grew oppressive instead. Emily faced herself in reflection hard while escaping those inviting realities flashing past life's window. All swollen by circumstances intertwined yet delicate when examined closely, glistening, lovingly preserved visions flickered alongside obstructive doubts erupting, nestled within dreams half-formed, unborn, begotten apologies swirling, chasing unshapely reminiscences wrapped around. Imagination demanding attention, instead beckoning forth newer rapture just beyond reach, remaining tantalizingly elusive. In that turbulent space late between dusk and night, a surge of urgency coursed through Emily. Something had to change. The vibrant world drawn so ardently existed simultaneously threatening collapse if balance eluded, exploration long left untouched awaiting nurture, unloved linger longer without resolve. Not just yielding short-term reprieve but also necessary consequences faced resolutely, harness-bound harmony dreamed further beyond feared departure, withheld, not merely awaiting his or hers alone but entwined together, waiting patiently while beckoning deeper. Embrace yet remained profoundly connected somehow. Visible, awaiting decision made urgently, finds fresh renewal blossoming with time ahead. As the weeks passed, Emily felt increasingly entangled in the complex web her wish had woven. With every moment spent writing, excitement dulled by the looming shadows of isolation and doubt, she realized she needed to make a change. Her once vibrant relationships seemed to wither as her artistic ambitions consumed her. It became clear that seeking help was essential to navigate this new terrain. Determined to bridge the widening gulf between herself and her friends, Emily reached out to Megan again. A text felt safer than a phone call. She could control her words, curate the emotional overture she wished to convey. "Hey, can we talk? I'd love to catch up." The response was immediate, a flurry of heart emojis followed by "Absolutely. Let's grab coffee tomorrow." The next day arrived with the promise of connection, but as Emily sat across from Megan in their favorite cafe, she struggled to articulate the turmoil brewing beneath her surface. Instead of diving into the depths of her experiences since making her wish, she found herself skimming over emotions like stones skipping across water. "I've been writing so much lately," she began, a hint of pride pushing its way through uncertainty. "I got accepted into a literary magazine." Megan's eyes sparkled with genuine excitement. "That's amazing, Em. You've worked really hard for this." The warmth of Megan's encouragement was comforting, yet beneath it lay unspoken questions that Emily couldn't face. "Yeah," Emily replied, but as soon as she spoke, the weight of reality settled back in. The growing pressure and fear of losing touch with everything meaningful began to seep through her thin veneer of triumph. "But it's overwhelming too. I don't know how to balance everything." Megan leaned in, concern knitting her brows together. "What do you mean? You can always talk to me. We're here for each other." Taking a deep breath, Emily sensed a small opening, but vulnerability terrified her. "I feel like I'm drifting away from everyone. I'm constantly caught up in my head and forget to connect with you guys." She paused, examining Megan's reaction carefully. "And you guys seem so happy without me." Megan reached across the table and squeezed Emily's hand firmly. "We miss you. It's okay to write and pursue your dreams, but don't forget about us along the way. You matter beyond your work." Her words patched up a slice within Emily that had begun to fester. Still feeling a twinge of guilt, Emily nodded slowly as fresh resolve uncoiled somewhere inside her, perhaps maintaining that connection wouldn't be so impossible after all. Determined to not let this setback define her journey alone, Emily made another bold decision to revisit the mysterious stranger who had set her path in motion. She recalled their enigmatic wisdom, a source of insight and guidance that might illuminate the shadows casting gloom over her creative journey. That evening, under dimming lights and twilight skies, she found herself back at the secluded park where everything had begun. The air crackled with anticipation as memories surged through her, both exhilarating and daunting. As she scanned the area for any sign of the stranger, an odd mix of hope and anxiety coiled within her gut. She closed her eyes momentarily, focusing on the sensations around her, the hum of cicadas and rustling leaves, and summoned courage from deep within. "Help me," she whispered into the stillness. Moments later, the familiar figure emerged from behind a tree, a presence both comforting and unsettling, like an old friend who carried secrets locked away in their gaze. "Back again," they remarked with an amused smile that crinkled their eyes. "I see you're navigating some rough waters." Emily nodded vigorously, frustration mingling with desperation spilling forth as she shared everything, the creative pressure that smothered joy, feelings of isolation from friends who loved her dearly, and doubts that taunted her at night while sleeplessness enveloped her mind. The stranger listened intently before responding thoughtfully. "Every challenge you meet reflects parts of your journey meant for growth, not just as an artist but also as a human being." They paused for effect before adding weightily, "Remember what got you here. Your passion is not entirely separate from those connections, it thrives on them." Those words resonated deeply within Emily. They echoed truths she had momentarily forgotten amid swirling chaos wrought by ambition alone. "Balance is essential," they continued softly. "Seek what nourishes your spirit outside work. Don't shy away from asking for help when it feels heavy." With each statement offered by this cryptic guide who bridged reality and dreams seamlessly intertwined like infinite patterns on fabric quivering before dawn, a sense of clarity emerged for Emily amid darkness lingering still like clouds elementally split apart. Fueled by newfound understanding mingling alongside lingering fear felt gently unfurling toward resilience. A pathway illuminated by possibilities awaited ahead, filled vibrant life anew, blossoming amidst challenges where mastery awaited further destinations, yet unseen beckoning forth clarity rising against uncertainty while tethered close together connected. Beneath brightening horizons promising brilliant light, fearlessly forging onward, still intertwined forevermore, weaving beauty deeper into existence, knowing fully well nothing could ever unfold without embracing transformation born from both light and shadow coexisting harmoniously. Emily sat in her favorite park, the soft rustle of leaves overhead mingling with the distant laughter of children playing nearby. It was a place where she had once found solace, but now it felt like a reminder of what she had sacrificed on her journey toward artistic ambition. The pieces of her life seemed scattered around her, and for the first time since she made that wish, she confronted the profound realization that happiness would not be handed to her on a silver platter. After her conversation with Megan and the re-encounter with the mysterious stranger, clarity began to surface in Emily's mind amid a storm of emotions. With each passing day, her isolation deepened further, entwined with success that felt increasingly hollow. She had traded vibrant connections for creative freedom, thinking they were mutually exclusive. But now she understood that such shortcuts often come at a cost, one deeply intertwined with her choices and responsibilities. Sitting cross-legged on the grass, Emily closed her eyes and took a deep breath. How could she have believed that simply wishing for change would solve everything? It dawned on her that while magic could set events in motion, true fulfillment required effort and self-reflection beyond mere aspiration or optimistic fantasies. As thoughts cascaded within, she pondered the stories she had written recently, how they mirrored moments of vulnerability and disconnection while hidden behind layers of adventurous plots and compelling characters. Each narrative that flowed from her fingertips echoed fragments of real-life struggles, the fear of losing relationships to ambition, grappling with inadequacies stemming from creative pressures, and yearning for authenticity amid an overwhelming need to be seen as successful. In this moment of introspection, Emily realized that creating art demanded more than just expression. It necessitated honesty and openness towards herself and others. A newfound weight settled onto her heart, a blend of accountability for what she wished for alongside a deeper understanding of how tightly woven love intertwined into creation itself. Determined to shift gears in this delicate balance of life and writing, Emily resolved to reconnect meaningfully with those important to her, especially Megan, as well as other friends left by the wayside in pursuit of ephemeral glory. The idea excited and terrified her simultaneously. It meant confronting existing guilt but also rekindling warmth that once adorned vibrant friendships, a precious tonic for emotional nourishment. With eagerness radiating from within like sunlight breaking through clouds after rainstorms retreat, Emily pulled out her phone and sent out invitations. Swiftly arranging meetups over coffee brunches or quiet evenings filled with laughter instead of solitary confinement buried among pages filled solely intuitively inside dreams half-formed long ago, lingering, beckoning, still waiting, only awakening patiently. Further awaiting time, untangling threads, unraveling, yet dusk remained steady, unfolding. Brightly, inevitably revealing new colors blooming right ahead. It wasn't just about chasing success anymore. It was about cultivating relationships through authenticity forged even amidst storms rolling across paintings, yet still refining hues, whether layered thickly or thin, tenderly, merely awaiting swells returning again, painting those canvases bright anew while helping fellow souls form, thriving, intertwining seamlessly alongside cherished ones, ready, appreciating delicate beauties, returning forth, embracing heartfelt journeys, navigating vision, blossoming. Forthright, collective, daring resolves, creamy skies, darker plumes, paint encircling, awaiting clarity, yielding incredible transformations, vital during nebulous yet boundlessly rich moments, rising gracefully, encountered forevermore together, tender unawareness. Gripping forgotten promises, expanding horizons along paths intertwined, boldly illuminating radiant allure, oft left behind, allowing soulmates delight, lovingly returning, feeling connected anew, flourishing precisely, relishing together alongside. Chosen timelines, dynamically forwarding onward, friendlier bonds eclipsing prior galas, behind, slowly transitioning, newly shining brightly, just forward, unrestricted finally. Tears brimmed in Emily's eyes as joy rushed through each realization. They were no longer alone walls separating fragmented stories, formed fresh narratives, worthy embracing, worth timeless belonging, enfolding as herself, embracing one another, exposing true selves meant willingly might bear each other's shoulders, facing light heart's dreams. Further aching, tracing affections painted deeper, still blooming beautifully, endlessly cherished, never hesitant, lasting affection holding ever tighter, always. Woven lovingly, deliberately forming beautiful lives, nurtured along pathways leading somewhere exceptional, renewing possibilities, absolutely magical witnesses, graciously shared affirmatively here, abiding, intertwined exposures, assuredly beckoning forth, promising brighter chapters alive. With newfound determination, Emily set out to confront the fallout from her wish and mend the relationships that had strained under the weight of her creative pursuits. She knew that reconnecting with her friends was essential for regaining control over her life, and it began with taking responsibility for the distance she had allowed to grow. First on her list was Megan. After their last conversation, Emily felt a sense of guilt for not being more present in their friendship. It had been far too long since they'd shared laughter over coffee or delved into each other's lives. With resolve in her heart, Emily texted Megan to arrange a lunch date at their favorite cafe, the place where they had spent countless afternoons brainstorming ideas and dreaming of the future together. As she arrived at the cafe, the familiar atmosphere wrapped around her like a comforting blanket. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the sound of laughter from patrons chatting animatedly. Emily spotted Megan at a small table by the window, an inviting smile spreading across her face as she waved excitedly. "Emily, I'm so glad you could make it," Megan exclaimed as Emily took a seat across from her. The warmth in Megan's voice lifted some of the weight from Emily's shoulders. "Thanks for inviting me," Emily replied, taking a moment to appreciate this connection. "I really missed this." Megan's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "So tell me, how have you been? Your texts have been, well, sparse." Taking a deep breath, Emily leaned forward, feeling both vulnerable and liberated. "I've been overwhelmed," she admitted honestly. "I've poured myself into my writing and neglected everything else. I've felt so isolated lately, like I'm living in a bubble." Megan nodded, her expression shifting to one of compassion. "You're not alone in this. We all miss you. Your art is important, but so are your friendships." "I know," Emily confessed, remorse tightening around her chest. "I'm sorry I let my success get in the way of our friendship. I didn't mean to drift." "It's okay," Megan assured her gently. "Just remember that you can have both joy and creativity without sacrificing your loved ones." The conversation flowed easily from there. Emily shared her recent writing experiences and struggles while Megan recounted stories from their mutual friends and work life. Laughter erupted between them like bubbling champagne. It felt exhilarating to reconnect after so much time apart. With each shared story, Emily felt the heaviness within her dissipate little by little. It became clear that true fulfillment wasn't solely rooted in artistic achievements but also in nurturing bonds that anchored her through tumultuous times. After lunch, buoyed by the reconnection with Megan, Emily decided it was time to reach out to others who had been neglected during her fervent chase for recognition. She sent messages to a few close friends, clearly expressing how much she missed them, and proposed casual meetups over the coming weeks. Each response filled her with gratitude. It seemed many were delighted to hear from her again. However, amidst these small victories came moments of anxiety as she grappled with confronting herself about her priorities moving forward. Determined to have an honest dialogue with herself as well as others, Emily visited the park once more, where she had first encountered the mysterious stranger, a place rich with memories that now felt like a nexus for decision-making. Sitting cross-legged on the grass beneath swaying branches overhead, she closed her eyes and reflected on what she truly wanted. Suddenly, memories of that fateful meeting surged forward. The stranger's penetrating gaze and cryptic insights on balance weighed heavily within her consciousness as if beckoning clarity forth anew. "Help me find my way back," she whispered into the quiet air surrounding her. In that moment, something stirred within the shadows of those trees, a feeling not entirely unlike before when hope met uncertainty head-on. As if summoned by intention itself, the familiar figure emerged once again, the stranger stepping gracefully toward her with an aura of understanding shining brightly through their presence. "Back again," they said softly yet knowingly, their eyes glimmering under dappled sunlight filtering through leaves overhead. Emily nodded slowly. No words were necessary. She felt prepared now to confront herself fully amidst thoughtful revelations gained through reconnections sought after, willingly engaging once more, faces familiar, standing neither behind nor apart but allowed, sharing equally, occurring together every step toward growth. Transcending even those shadowy steps leading down previously untraveled pathways, lit anew, flourishing anew, where manifesting beauty rose vibrantly, inviting forward, further continuing. Onward, still interwoven along diverse narratives awaiting unfolding, reaching hearts willing, revealing craft immensely better together. Overcoming fear became resolute now. A journey ahead lay, promising brighter chapters, alive, nourishing, radiant bonds rekindled, evermore intertwining, colorful, heartfelt expressions flourishing alongside artists gathered, celebrating visions, striving harmoniously, uniquely, revealing connections deeper than solitary aspirations alone, defining purpose deeper, meaningful, illuminating paths forged collaboratively, stretching forth beautifully, courageous reflections, wholly embracing life anew, emboldened. Sharing creative contributions, blooming, infinitely deserving, belongingness treasured, forever nurtured, till horizons beckoned brightly ahead. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue across the park, Emily felt a sense of urgency pulling her back to the spot where her journey had shifted so dramatically. The leaves whispered secrets in the evening breeze, coaxing her to reflect on everything she had learned since taking that fateful leap of faith and making her wish. Today, she would confront the mysterious stranger once more. Standing beneath the familiar branches that had witnessed her earlier struggles, Emily's heart raced with a mix of anticipation and trepidation. She recalled their first encounter when uncertainty had clouded her judgment and ambition had blinded her to the consequences of her desires. Now, after exploring passion and vulnerability along with some painful revelations about herself, she was ready to acknowledge the impact of her choices. "Help me understand," she called out softly into the twilight, hoping her words would draw the stranger's attention. Moments later, they emerged from the shadows, just as enigmatic as before, but possessing an air of familiarity that set Emily at ease. "You return," they said with a knowing smile, their eyes sparkling with intrigue. "What brings you back to this crossroads?" Taking a deep breath, Emily stepped closer. "I've learned so much since I made my wish," she began, feelings rushing forth like water bursting through a dam. "I experienced exhilaration and creativity beyond anything I ever imagined, but it came at a cost. I isolated myself from everyone I love in pursuit of something that only felt fulfilling sometimes." The stranger nodded thoughtfully, allowing Emily to continue. "Success felt amazing at first," she admitted, "but now it feels hollow. I've realized that true happiness isn't about chasing accolades or recognition, it's about meaningful connections and embracing vulnerability." A sense of relief washed over Emily as she spoke those words aloud, acknowledging these truths fueled her courage further and illuminated a pathway forward. "And what do you believe will solve this predicament?" the stranger asked gently. Their expression was patient yet probing, encouraging Emily to dig deeper into her understanding. "I want to strike a balance," she articulated clearly. "I don't think sacrificing my friendships for artistic success is worth it. I want both creativity and connection." Her voice trembled slightly as she laid bare her desires. The stranger smiled again, but with a gentler understanding this time. "And therein lies your greatest learning. Balancing ambition with relationships does not diminish either but enriches them both. Each aspect feeds into the other," they explained with evident wisdom. Emily pondered their words carefully. It dawned on her that creativity thrived not in isolation but within a tapestry woven of shared experiences, love, and support. She took solace in this realization: she could integrate her friends into her creative world rather than keep them apart from it. "Your wish set you on a path for growth," the stranger reminded Emily softly. "But it is up to you how you navigate that growth moving forward." Determined now more than ever, she continued, "I want to invite my friends into my creative process, share my work, and be open about what inspires me. Reconnecting is essential for me to pursue my artistry authentically without losing myself in ambition." The stranger's smile widened appreciatively as they regarded Emily thoughtfully. "You have come far from yearning for change to embracing responsibility for your happiness. Choices shape your journey ahead, embrace them wisely." With newfound conviction coursing through her veins, Emily nodded vigorously as clarity settled over her like a fresh spring breeze revitalizing petals long confined by shadows. This moment marked another milestone along her path toward fulfillment. Feeling energized by this confrontation with the stranger, Emily turned away from their presence with gratitude in her heart. Their guidance had propelled her toward understanding herself in profoundly intimate ways. As she strolled homeward beneath the twilight sky painted vibrantly by fading light dimming softly overhead, dancing blushing hues blending elegantly, beginning steadily cooling towards evening, Emily embraced warmth radiating from connections rekindled, promising brighter days ahead. Back at home, nestled amongst scattered pages reflecting stories waiting patiently, refreshed, further honoring life blooming anew around each corner, in these spaces both physical and emotional. A balance beckoned forth, shimmering gently, guiding toward integration, anticipated returning forth, interwoven alongside familiarity, once more healing beautifully together. As Emily walked through the park, now familiar and comforting, the golden hues of sunset painted the sky, casting a warm glow over her path. She paused, taking a moment to absorb the beauty around her, the soft rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze, the distant laughter of children playing, and the vibrant colors reflecting off the tranquil surface of the pond nearby. It was here that her journey had begun, a journey marked by uncertainty, ambition, and ultimately transformation. Reflecting on everything she had experienced since making her wish, Emily felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. The mysterious stranger's offer had sparked a fire within her that had led to exhilarating creativity but also profound challenges. She had chased after success and validation but learned through struggle that true happiness could not be granted through shortcuts or easy fixes. It required hard work, self-discovery, and an understanding of what really mattered in life. With each step forward, Emily pondered how her perceptions had shifted. No longer did she view her wish as a magical escape from responsibility. Instead, it became a catalyst for growth that illuminated her path forward. She understood now that pursuing her passion didn't mean sacrificing meaningful connections with friends and loved ones. Rather, it meant weaving those relationships into the fabric of her creative process. The conversations with Megan and the stranger echoed in her mind, reminders that fulfillment lies not only in accolades but in shared experiences and vulnerability. She recalled how Megan had encouraged her to embrace both joy and creativity without losing sight of personal connections. It was an invaluable lesson that would guide her moving forward. As she approached a bench beneath an old oak tree, a perfect spot she used to frequent, Emily felt a sense of resolve settle within her. This was not just about reclaiming friendships, it was about building a community around her art. She envisioned inviting friends into her writing world, sharing drafts, exchanging ideas, and collaborating on projects where their voices could intertwine with hers. This vision filled her with excitement as she recognized that creativity flourished best in connection with others. Sitting down on the bench, Emily took out her notebook, a trusty companion throughout this journey, and began to jot down thoughts and ideas for future stories that would incorporate elements from those around her. Each line flowed effortlessly as inspiration surged through her. She felt alive in ways she hadn't for far too long. Yet, amidst this newfound clarity came the understanding that confronting the fallout from her wish also meant accepting responsibility for past choices. Recognizing when she had neglected those precious relationships and acknowledging the hurt they may have caused. With each word she wrote, Emily committed to making amends where necessary, apologizing to friends who had felt overlooked during her creative pursuits and expressing gratitude for their unwavering support. Days turned into weeks as Emily put these intentions into action. She hosted small gatherings at her apartment where friends could come together to share food, laughter, and stories, creating an environment rich with warmth and connection. She invited them to read excerpts of her work in progress, encouraging feedback while also opening up about the emotional roller coaster she had ridden since making that wish. With each interaction came healing, laughter replaced isolation as friendships rekindled over shared meals and creative discussions. Emily felt lighter than she had in months. The burdens once carried alone transformed into collective joys shared with others who understood and valued her journey. As autumn leaves began to blanket the ground in vibrant colors mirroring transformation itself, Emily stood at another crossroads, not one marked by uncertainty but by opportunity, a chance to shape both herself and her story anew. She finally understood that wishes might ignite sparks of change, but it is through dedication, hard work met with love, that true growth unfolds. Inspired by this realization, Emily smiled softly at the setting sun casting its final glow on the horizon. It was here where dreams intertwined with reality. A reminder that every ending could lead to new beginnings filled with promise and possibility ahead. In embracing responsibilities toward herself and those she cherished most deeply, she found solace in knowing fulfillment lay beyond mere wishes. It blossomed from genuine effort poured into every relationship nurtured along this vibrant path ahead. A journey meant to be celebrated together forevermore.